Okay, we are trying this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we will try to cap out now, and we'll see if we can get there. Okay. All right, there you go. It was a little bit rough. I was trying to get all the software figured out and had a little bit of trouble. Hope you can all hear me. If you can, let me know. If you're having any kind of trouble, please hit me in the chat. So, what we're going to do is talk about your 3-0 Kansas City Chiefs. Great. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. So, I'm here in Colorado, a little bit delayed. Sorry for the state of the studio in the back, but this is where the magic's made. So, yeah, can you hear me in the back? A lot of going on. You guys start firing your questions in there. If you would start your question with the question mark, it'll make it easier for me to see. I got a nice big screen up here, and I want to go over a couple of things. A, the fact that the lowest game that Patrick Mahomes has played to this point was today in terms of his passer rating, 115.5. 3 touchdowns, 314 yards. Nothing wrong with any of that. A lot of folks seem to be a little disappointed, but I think him spreading the ball around is a big story, and it's something that the media is glomming onto pretty quickly, and I think they should. What this means is that if you have injuries like the Conley thing, if he had not been able to come back, you're going to have options, and that's what's going to be the important part. Yeah, and of course, first question. All right, David, run defense didn't look good. I thought the run defense was solid. It wasn't spectacular. There was, again, missed tackles. That seems to be a theme with this one. So it's something they're going to have to deal with, but they're getting better. And I thought the D-line in particular played pretty well. Let's see here. How much of the problems derive from the linebackers versus safety? Safety is still the weakest point on this defense. That's why there's so much discussion about the Earl Thomas thing. It's why there's so much about how well Eric Murray plays. And I thought he actually had a better day today. I don't want to toot anyone's horn in particular, but I thought he did well. Obviously, nobody's Eric Berry, and that's the problem. So if you get Berry back, everything changes. And to that point, it looks like this question about Earl Thomas really makes me think about whether they really feel he's progressing or not. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. But playing at home helps. But, getting a confidence-boosting game for Eric Murray is going to help as well. I thought Ron Parker, I did see him miss a tackle, but I thought he played pretty well on the whole. He did lead the team in tackles along with with Ragland. Hitchens was not there, but we'll have to look at that. Pat Cannon, do you think that we should have drafted a corner in the second or third round? Yeah. Those were my top priorities in the offseason, and I was pretty straight up about that. I was a little surprised they jumped for Speaks, but they seemed to like him. And, if that pays off, that pays off, and that's going to be just fine. Yeah, Don, I talked about Earl Thomas. Do you think we should have drafted another guy? Do you think Sammy can become more effective in our offense? He will. I still think Sammy's still getting up to speed. He was very honest about when he first joined the team and how the offense was a little bit difficult to get all the way around. And I think it's just something that he's getting to. I think the wrinkle of him carrying the ball is a nice way to get him into that offense. I think he's showing more and more. And as defenses right now are starting to look at Tyreek and maybe Kelce, it's going to give him more opportunities. And I think that's what you're going to see as well. So keep an eye out for what Sammy does. And I think it's only up for Sammy Watkins. What else? Sammy, linebackers' biggest issue in coverage, yes. And if you didn't catch the video when Hitchens first came over, or if you didn't hear the podcast, and by the way, anybody that's on here for YouTube and you don't listen to Locked On Chiefs podcast, that's where you can get all the daily information, and we cover a lot more topics than I can cover in just a video or two a week. So check that out as well. It'll be linked up in the show notes when I'm done. Yeah, the linebackers in coverage, Hitchens is a zone guy. He can play the zone fine. Covering backs in man out of the backfield was his weakness in Dallas. It's not a surprise now. It's just something the team's going to have to live with. Now, if they get to the point where they can bring in other players and they're comfortable, then maybe that changes, because right now it's all dictated on the matchups. And if you can leave Hitchens in the zone, I think he's fine. And they got to look to do that more, but it's also dependent on who that safety is. And if Barry either makes it back or they add an Earl Thomas, I still don't know that I can see that happening. But if they do, that would help that pretty dramatically. They also have Dorian O'Daniel that hasn't played yet, and they're going to do some more on him too. So that's an important piece. Now, what else do we have? Does Harris actually have bricks? I don't know, man. He might. A good game for Scandrick, Murray, and Nelson. Yeah, I thought Nelson got beat once where I thought he shouldn't have, but I thought Scandrick came up big. He did get flattened one time against a tight end. He should know better. You got to tackle guys that are that big and that fleet of foot. You got to go low on them, or you got to wrap up and hold on for dear life. So, I mean, that's really all it is for a guy like Scandrick, who is a vet and should know those kind of things. Let's see here. Is the pass rush too simple? I would have liked to seen them go to that inside with Houston and Ford, inside the Bailey and Jones on the outside, but it's working. I think Alan Bailey's a little undersung right here because he's getting a lot of great push and he's making a difference for a guy that has struggled really to push that pocket. And again, like Therese always says, and Matt Derrick always reminds me of, the contract year is undefeated. So I'll take that for Nelson. I'll take that for Bailey. I'll take that for D Ford. All of them should improve as they go along. What else here? Sutton. Man, it's a toss-up. The players have to execute what they're coached to execute. And right now, I see that as a bigger problem on the field than what's being called. Would I like to see more out of Bob? Yes. Do I want to see some change off? Do I want to see some blitzes where they're not expecting them from? Yeah. But right now, today, to this point in the season, I don't think it's necessarily Bob that's causing the issue. It's player execution and maybe Bob putting guys in positions where they're unable to do well, like asking Murray to go up against tight ends, like asking Hitchens to constantly cover man on running backs. And it's something they have to adapt to, but there's a certain thing about Bob that he's stubborn. Bob's son wants you to play in his defense. He doesn't want to adapt his defense for what you do well, and that's kind of the big problem that I see. And one of the things that I think they have to fix going forward or eventually as things come to a head if he is replaced. Trying to hit your questions. Again, if you're new into the chat, hit the question mark before you ask your question. It helps me find them a little bit easier. Scheme versus execution. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Jamie. Is Denver going to be a problem? Man, I think they're overachieving right now. Lindsey got ejected today, and I think he's kind of their big spark on offense. I don't think Sutton's into their game plan yet, but I'll look at them this week, and I'll have more in the game plan video for the end of the week that should account for some of that. I just got to see the film a little bit more. What did the Niners do differently in the second half? They executed. They took advantage of what they had, and they did it right. I think I was waiting for Kittle to get going. I even remarked on Twitter at halftime that, hey, they had pretty much shut him down or kept him in check quite a bit in the first half. And then they figured out, oh, hey, he's pretty much our best matchup. We have to go exploit him. And they started throwing to Kittle. And that's when things started turning around. I think Breda's also a guy that's just kind of waiting to break out. So he's a back that I like in fantasy as well as on the field. Let's see here. Do you think Ford keeps his production? No. If he keeps his production, I would still not re-sign him, Casey. 1 year doesn't do it. The guys who produced consistently over the years, like Justin Houston, have even had problems with injury and continuing to produce after they sign a big contract. D hasn't produced more than one season. That's what Justin out. So even if he has 10 or 12 sacks, I don't think paying him as a premier pass rusher is the answer for this team, especially when they've drafted young guys. Now, I'm going to talk this week either on the podcast or I might do an extra video about a pass rusher that I think they should go get in a trade. So keep an eye out for that. Barry will make this defense better if he gets back. Will Houston get more sacks without having a penalty take it away? Justin Houston is doing the work. I think I saw him move a little bit more gingerly. He's not chasing down the backside as much as he usually does. So I think his conditioning maybe was affected by the first couple of weeks in the heat. But eventually everybody's going to settle down. He's going to actually get some work done. 2 sacks today, forced a fumble. I think they actually gave him, I have the game sheet up here in front of me. I think they gave him 2 forced fumbles on the day. So, we'll take that, right? We already do have a top paid safety in Barry. You were absolutely right, Embrace. So that's something to keep an eye on. It's tough to pay both Thomas and him. Chris on the podcast thinks it's going to be a 1-year deal at the most. I don't know. It could be. I personally, if you're going to give up a draft pick, and that's what it's going to take to get Earl Thomas, I don't do that for a guy that you're going to get 13 games out of or a playoff run, and that's it. Because you don't have the money to sign him long term. It would take a restructure for Houston and Barry to free up the space in order to sign Thomas long term. So that's a tough one. Let's see who's next. Third down where Mahomes said something happened and he threw to Conley. Conley, we've been telling you this for a while. Conley's a guy that has the athleticism. He has the ability to get open. He just doesn't get that breakaway 4 yards of separation that Alex Smith liked. So he was underutilized. He wasn't targeted enough. He's going to continue to do this. I think he's going to become a consistent third wide receiver threat, if I can talk. And it's going to be important for this offense because as teams devise more bracketing for the outside guys in Watkins and Hill, Kelce's going to be there, but you're going to find a way to scheme him, right, too? So if you can't hit those guys, you got to hit Sherman or the back or Conley. And I think Conley's probably the best option in the passing game. He does have the speed. He just is more he doesn't have that explosive acceleration. He takes a little bit more time to get up to speed. I'm not afraid of remaining schedule except for the Rams. I don't know. The Jags still make me nervous, but this offense can definitely be one that can put them to the test. I think the arm and Jalen Ramsey's overmatched in terms of speed with Hill. And I think both Conley and Watkins are going to have opportunities underneath, especially if they try to run Miles Jack at them. I think that's going to be okay. Let's see here. Talk about the safety. Okay. Yeah, Earl Thomas is intriguing. Right now, assume that they don't have the picks and the money to do that, right? You got to keep pushing Eric Murray to get better. You got to keep pushing Ron Parker to not only be the glue, but to be more sound as well. Ron over pursues from times too. I mean, he's definitely an upgrade over everything else that they have active right now, but he can still improve. If they were to sign Thomas, that's a heck of a trio with Parker as your third safety. If Barry's back, we'll have to see what happens with Barry and his injury, but that's where it is for now. Watts did not look great to me today. I noticed 3 or 4 plays where if he wasn't the solution, he definitely was part of the problem, if not the whole thing. So, but again, Watts is young and he's still learning. And he's a little overmatched physically, especially with a tight end, I think was one of those plays. I'll have to see the All-22 again. But Watts is going to get there. I think he's going to be a useful player. Don't get too down on him yet. Yeah. Houston did look better. Why do you think they stalled in the second half? Because it's Andy. I think the players, especially on a young team, they all take their cues from the coach. And next from the quarterback. And if you get out to that big of a lead and you feel like you're safe and you're comfortable and you start to relax a little bit, that kind of spreads through the whole room, the whole side of the ball. I think that's something they have to be particularly aware of because Andy starts to get conservative. Don't worry about the last couple of minutes when they're trying to run the clock. That wasn't conservative. That was designed to take time off the clock. But before that, there was just a little bit of lack of urgency coming out at the half. Really, when you're up on a lead and you get the ball to start the second half, you got to pound that nail in the coffin. That's just the way it's got to be. And I think Mahomes has that mentality more than Andy might. Andy might be a little bit too happy with halftime? I don't know. It's tough not to be when you have that big a lead. So let's keep them pounding and take a note from Ron Rivera, who used to work for Andy Reid. Why can't the offense produce? Yeah, the second half was tough. Jags are overrated. Curtis, you might be right. Maybe I'm wrong. Why are there still people that only see the negative about this team? Does it seem to some want PM to fail? Some want him to fail, probably because they underestimated him pre-draft. And that's a lot of what happens. Folks get tied to their opinion, and then they want it to come true, whether it's going to or not. So don't let that bother you. It's not a big deal. He's going to be who he's going to be. Thanks, Steven. I appreciate that. This is kind of new for me. Sorry, guys, that it started late, and I'm kind of, the lighting's not the greatest. I only have my one key light working tonight, but I got some more gear coming and some more things that I'm going to start doing. So I'm working on that. Hey, Adam, how are you? Both Adams. Hope you guys are doing good. Antonio, Opinion on Clay Matthews roughing the passer. I've only seen it live. The one highlight replay. I haven't really looked at it, but man, if you can't do that in this league, I mean, we're that much closer to flag football. I think this is going to be something that's going to bother this league for quite a while. So I'll take a look at it, and I'll give you guys a little bit more opinion later in the week. Yeah, and I am saying a lot. Sorry. Jamie, the Watkins contract, not there yet, but I think he's going to come on. And I'll tell you this too. If he doesn't come on, what they've done is they've built in a way that if and when they decide to part ways with Sammy, if he doesn't produce up to that $16 million threshold, if they do part ways with him, there's going to be some dead money, but there's going to be a lot of cap space. That cap space is going to go to Tyreek Hill. They have to re-sign him soon, or he's only going to get more expensive by the day. So remember that's built in, that you have a spending threshold for a position as well. And if Sammy doesn't work out, which I think he will, I have no doubts about that personally. But if you do, remember that if they do decide to part ways, it's just that much more money that you have room to give cap space to Tyreek. Playing with the lead is tough. It takes practice. Mahomes, come down to earth. If this was just come down to earth, I'll take it every day, all day, over and over and over again. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 115 passer rating. I'll take that to the bank. I was happier. I thought they showed a little more spine. I thought the defense came out. And who asked that? Sorry. Yes, Richard Morris. I was happier with it. They got to show that aggression. At the end of the day, if you're going to play defense and you're not the most talented, aggression makes up for some of that deficiency, and that they have to do that more. That's part of my problem with Bob. I think he should jam more. I think he should blitz more. I think he has to be more creative and let the dogs run, my personal opinion. Hey, Blue Moon Monty. I didn't know you were a normal AV guy. Well, welcome. Honestly, I appreciate all of you guys out here. We got 146, so we're doing as good as the Star used to do. I'm going to try to make this a habit, so I hope you guys will hang out some. It's always a little bit iffy. I live out in the sticks, so my internet connection isn't the greatest. Hope this looks good. In fact, if it looks bad, hit me in the comments so that I know, and I'll see what I can adjust going forward. I'll try not to point at you as much as I usually do either. What would make the defense better? Putting guys in positions to do what they do best. That's really what it comes down to. Don't ask Anthony Hitchens to cover backs one-on-one. Don't ask Reggie Ragland to take backs one-on-one. Don't ask Eric Murray to guard tight ends one-on-one. The safeties need to play more zone, and the linebackers need to play more zone. The other thing that would help is getting somebody in there or scheming around a way, like we've seen them do in the past, to get the pass rush. That will help the secondary. That will help everybody in coverage if you can collapse the pocket. And I want to see them take more gap slants and try to penetrate the pocket more, not just push it, because that takes time. You have Chris Jones and you have Alan Bailey, and I think Xavier Williams can shoot gaps as well. And that will help everybody down the line. Be more aggressive, be more attacking, be more Rex Ryan. Sorry, I'm going to keep saying it. Yeah, I thought it was a great game too, Isaiah. I appreciate that. Yeah, you're right, James. So it is partly sudden, yeah. Don't put Smith on the field. I happen to agree with you. I don't think Neiman's particularly ready. But you're out of options at this point, so you got to do what you got to do. Does nobody love the run game? Yeah. The run game at the end was good to see. I wish that it was not held that long. I think you got to pepper in more carries for Kareem Hunt. I think it has to be more consistent, and I think it has to be something that is day in, day out. Running backs are guys that have to get in a rhythm quite often, so that's important to see too. So we'll see how that comes down. He did take his footwear off the gas, Isaiah. I like that one. Why do you think we're not seeing our Daniel? I don't have a clue. I really just don't know. I'm going to look into that, and I've asked some of my sources around the team to look into it. We'll see what comes back. I'll let you guys know. Anyone concerned about being conservative with a big lead? He's always conservative with a big lead. I ask any Philly fan out there, this is what he does. This is never going to go away. It's going to be part of the problem. What can happen is that the quarterback can make up for that, because if the head coach is going to be relaxed, the quarterback can push the ball in the same given gameplay, because Andy's really good about calling plays that have multiple levels. You can take advantage. And this quarterback, I think he has the killer instinct. I think that's going to pay off down the line. There's always holds that aren't called. There's holding on every play. Some of them are more egregious than others, but that's just the way that it goes. Thank you for that one though, Daniel. It's a good point. I don't like to talk about calls very much because there's absolutely nothing that I can do about them or no way to analyze them. Analyze. That's pretty bad. It's just something you got to live with. Terrence Smith is a great special teams player. You're absolutely right. That's from James. Yeah, run up the gut. Would love that. You know me. I'd like to see the power eye. I'd like to see not only Sherman block more, I'd like to see him get a few carries. I always like that. Wear him down, especially a D-line that was like this one, where Buckner's getting some push and some penetration. I'd like to see him get beat up a little bit. Not related. Oh, Peters went down. I had only heard. I don't know what the severity is of that. What do you think about Earl Thomas trade rumors? Go back and watch the replay. I talked about that in the very beginning. I think it's worth exploring, but I think the cost is going to be too high. He'll probably throwing the ball all the time. It's working. You know, Jamie, you have a good point. It is working. And until they make it not work, exploit it, right? I mean, that's what great coaches do. It's what Parcells did. It's what Ditka did. Make them stop you. Breland, stop and go. I like that. Sherman can run. You're absolutely right. One positive, the defense, 3 weeks in a row, the first possession stop. That's a very good point. It helps you get on a roll. It helps you set up the offense, and that's important. Yeah, Pat, they're not the greatest DBs. I get it. You're right. But don't say they suck. Everybody's got potential. Let's stay on the positive side, because honestly, if this was a 0-3 team, I'd be a little more apt to agree with you, but let's stay on the positive. They can still grow. How many TDs will Sherman get this year? Adam, I like your question. I'm thinking it's 6. I think he's going to get more. I think he can be, like he said, that last weapon that no team thinks about until Pat throws in the ball. So we'll see. Yes, he is a tank. Yeah, counter plays are a staple, especially against aggressive fronts, and I think they need to do it more. I think I like LDT out there, and that's a very good point. Who would I get for the D-line? I'm happy with the D-line. I don't think there's anybody out there that you could get for a decent price that could actually help. So, and JJ, you're right. They don't have a strong safety. Their 2 strong safeties were Sorensen and Barry. Sorensen's not a free. The 2 guys you have now, Murray could be a corner slot still. I mean, honestly, his best performance has been against slot receivers. He could still be that role. But yeah, they need a strong safety too, unless they feel like Eric Berry's going to be back. Although I will say Ron Parker can come in and play that kind of Abdullah role that was not really a strong, but more of a rover type. And I think he can do that when they can execute a good defensive game plan that way. CBs are average. You're right. Yep. Mahomes will keep running. Yeah, there was some confusion, especially with some of the younger players, Watts in particular. Isaiah, from everything I know, that Conley is okay. But like I was saying with Watts, he's asking a lot of questions. He got caught off guard a couple times. That's going to happen. That's normal when you're playing this young a defense. Ford looks good, and Justice being double teamed. Hopefully, Ragland will get 100%. I hope so too. I don't think Reggie is, and I think once he is, we'll definitely notice it on the field. Yep, Houston did come on late. The heel injury more than a year. It's not, they call it a heel injury. It's an Achilles strain is what it is. They're worried that he's going to go out there and blow his Achilles again. And that's the problem. This is precautionary with Eric Berry. When you have pain like that, he had pain before he did the injury last year, right in the same spot. So that's why they're being so cautious with it. Playing at home always confuses the DTS. Communication is tough. The Red Sea does its job. I'd rather see K-Pass right now. I think Speaks is doing well in the run game, holding the edge, but they got to have pass rush. And that's where K-Pass comes in. Would I fire Sutton mid-season? After the season? Sorry, W. James. Last question. Would you fire Sutton after this season if there's no improvement? If so, who would you want replacing him? I would let him go from what I've seen. And I would pull Rex Ryan out of retirement. I think Rex is an excellent deep coordinator. He's uber aggressive, and he can make up for some of these guys. And yes, Chiefs fan 515, you knew I was going to say that. Yeah. Okay. So Listen, that's it for me. I got to go make dinner for the kids and do the regular family thing, but I hope you guys enjoy Sunday Night Football. I'll be back. I'll have my wrap-up video on Wednesday. It's starting to like figure out that this is going to be the schedule. Wednesday's going to be the wrap-up from the film from the last week. Friday will be the pregame game plan video. Make sure you're checking those. If you would, spread it around. Let's get more people watching these. It's a lot of fun, and most of it came true today. So appreciate all your guys' time and all your comments. This is great. We've had almost 200 people on here for 25 minutes. It's been great. So I'll try to make this a steady thing, and I'll try to get better at the live video deal. So you guys have a great night, and I will talk to you later.